Welcome back to our garden stroke studio. Please join us. We have plenty of empty chairs, well, metaphorically anyway, and you can join us by either calling us or emailing us. We won't bore you. You know the details. If you don't, we'll remind you a little bit later on in the program as well, because we know some people have called already and perhaps we've kept them waiting a little long. So let's say hello to our caller. Hello, welcome to Beyond Gardens Live.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to the program.
Thank you. My name's Kate.
Yes, Kate.
I would like to know if I put snail pellets on my herbs and vegetables, is there a withholding period?
Oh, snail pellets are, well, there's 2 or 3 different formulas of snail pellets, yeah. So you do have to be a bit careful. Some of them are pretty nasty. Mind you, they knock off snails, but they also have a tendency to knock off dogs, pets and other things like that. Whereas some of the copper-based ones aren't so harmful. I'd be cautious, and I think the thing about snails is if you feel you have to put pellets out, not too thick. A lot of people scatter them around like hailstones, don't they? And that really is asking for trouble. You only need one about, well, let's put it this way, to a square metre you need about 9, that's it. So you divide a square metre into 9 squares, 1 for each one, that's about it. Or, alternatively, put them into a little guard, what do they call them, a station.
Yes,
station.
That's and that can even be an inverted pot with a couple of holes cut through.
I've certainly used the pot idea with a good solid weight to stop the dogs from getting into it.
Absolutely.
And yes, if you're not careful, of course, you can lose a lot of things to snails, but in many ways, the cure is worse than the problem, I think, isn't it?
Well, the other thing too is you go out there when there's a bit of moisture around and they're all around and a couple of trials around the block. You soon start thinning them out, don't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course, beer trap's a favourite. I thought I'd show you this. It's not a real beer trap, but it's in a beer bottle, and I can do better than that. Have a look at this one. That's a snail problem.
That must be the naughty corner.
Yeah, it makes you feel hungry.
Hopefully that's not your garden there, Kate.
It's not. Want to see a decent-sized snail? Oh, never mind. Okay. Look, I hope that helps. I just exercise great caution in the use of snail treatments. There was, and I'm not sure whether it's still around, somebody can probably correct us, there was a snail spray that you could use, which was a copper-based spray. I've still got some of an old sample at home, and I tell you what, it's brilliant. You can use it as a barrier. I think you can still get it, can you?
Yes, you've also just opened up the memory banks there. You can buy tape as well.
Oh, yes.
Copper tape that can go around the tops of pot plants, half wine barrels and physical borders.
Prefer the spray, you can't see that, but super effective. And maybe one of these programs will do something about snails and the different sorts, because we are talking generally, and we tend to talk about the big brown ones, and this is how big a really big brown one gets. And that's half a main course almost. But there are other snails as well, okay? So we hope that helps.
John?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
I just wondered if, for my human consumption, whether there was a withholding period.
Yes, there would be.
I simply wouldn't use snail pellets in fast-growing plants. I would err on the side of caution on that, yes. I'd try and use them, get a barrier around the outside rather than near where the plants are growing.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much, Kate.
Stop eating those snail pellets.
Stop eating the snail pellets.
Definitely not for human consumption.
Okay, we have a second caller on the line. Hello, caller. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello. Who's this?
Morag.
Morag. And where are you from?
Wilson.
Wilson. Great.
Okay, Morag. How can we help you?
We've got a fig tree, a young fig tree growing in a big pot, and we're wondering if it would be safe enough to plant it out in the garden, given the root system, and it'll be within 4 metres of a swimming pool.
Are we talking about a fruiting fig tree or another sort of fig? Yeah, because it's a very big family, lots of different ones. All right, so the fruiting figs are perhaps less vigorous than most, but that doesn't mean to say that they're not a vigorous plant. Once they get going, you get a sort of shrubby approach. This is what a semi-mature tree looks like. It's been kept low by pruning. The overall tree is that's about the size of it, which if you manage it, that's what it can do. Now, yes, all figs have good root systems. That's it. That's what makes a plant so tough. But remind me again, how close, Morag?
4 metres.
Within 4 metres of the swimming pool.
Okay. If...
Can I ask Morag, is it a fiberglass pool?
Yes.
Okay. Because it depends. Figs or plants generally, perhaps I can answer it this way, plants generally don't bust through to get to water. They only get in and make a mess if there is a leak in the first place. So if there's no leak in the pool, you're normally okay unless you've got a plant like a palm right alongside the pool, which has got a rapidly expanding root system, then that might bulge it out and break it that way. But if the pool is in good nick, likewise if your sewers are in good nick, then plants' roots will not get in there.
Great.
So I think you'd be safe.
Particularly at 4 metres, it will be quite a small root system.
Yeah, I think you'd be safe. And keep the fig pruned, that'll slow down the root system a bit. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. No more callers.
Oh, that's a surprise.
If you do wish to call in, 6468 5994. And shall we look at
And we have got some emails.
Yeah, yes, we do have some emails.
Yes.
We have an email here from John regarding his Dodonia plants. Now, apologies, John, this is a little bit late in answering, but we thought we'd get onto this one. Common problem that you start seeing around the place with Dodonia at this time of the year and even into the summer months. So, and that's part of his problem.
Okay, and that's, eagle-eyed people might spot that that's not a Dodonia, that's actually an acacia. But what it's showing is the distorted growth, which is what we have on the image that came in from our emailer. And that distorted growth makes a real mess. It's on the new growth, and basically it's a bit of genetic failure, for want of a better word. When cells divide on the tips of a new plant, what they do is hopefully duplicate the DNA and you get a perfect growth. But it doesn't always happen, and if there's a virus involved, then often you get this distorted new growth, which we call fasciation, and that can display in so many different ways. Sometimes the leaves are like this, they're sort of flat and they shouldn't be. Let me find you another weirdo. This is an Aeromophila, which should all be, you know, it should be a long stem, instead of which it's crammed back onto one, and I'm sure I can find you even weirder ones there. Oh, look, here's a good one. That would like to be a wattle, but it can't be. It's got flat stems. So fasciation is quite common, and I guess, what do you do about it? Cut it off.
Yeah.
I mean, that's simple. It. Sometimes it's virus. We should also point out that sometimes it's a fungus, and maybe it would respond to a fungicide. Mostly it's a virus, and you just cut it off. If you like it, keep it. And there are some plants, in fact, where we do keep the streaking in flowers of things like tulips is due to a virus they've bred into it to give that appearance.
Done on purpose.
Done on purpose.
Yes,
absolutely. Absolutely. And there was scale there as well.
Yes,
I think,
absolutely.
He also got my picture.
Has some scale.
You can't find your picture.
Don't like my picture.
You don't like your picture, Gary.
Oh,
here we go.
Yep.
See, they do like it.
Okay.
There it is.
Briefly,
So
mind you, briefly.
That's the scale there. One of the scales. There's when you start talking about scale, there's that many different types of scales.
Where do we start?
What can you do about it?
Rest of the program, I could just show you
we could just show slides of scale. What you can do about it, you can certainly treat it. Some of the scales don't like the white oils. Some of those ones with a very waxy coating, they can certainly ward off a lot of that white oil to a certain degree, and that's when it may be time to start looking at one of the systemic-based treatments.
I think the important point too about scale is that even if you kill it, well, perhaps if you're not familiar with what goes on, what we're looking at when you see a scale is just a protective coating around the insect, which is inside. So it's protected against things like you. While it feeds on your plants. When you use white oil, you smother it. That's the idea. Insects breathe not through lungs, but through basically holes that run through the body. So white oil smothers it. It doesn't necessarily mean, however, even if you've killed the scale, that it will drop off. And a lot of people say, oh, it hasn't worked, but the scale's actually dead. So the test, very quickly, is a simple one. Try it on a live one, first of all. Rub your thumbnail against it, and you'll get a sort of squidgy mess underneath. If it's dead, however, you can rub your thumbnails to scrape them off the leaf, and it's bone dry.
Yes.
And quite surprising, I didn't notice any ants.
No.
No. They normally go together.
Often associated with. So, yeah, white oil certainly works. not in hot weather, okay?
That's right. Okay, we have a caller on the line. Hello, caller, are you there?
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
My name is Carmelo from Carrinup.
Yes.
I've got about 35 fruit trees, full range of citrus, pawpaw, babaco, pomegranate and other things.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, is there a general rule of thumb with fertilising fruiting trees? I've got sort of worm farm and chooks and compost, and I'm just wondering if you can help me out. Is there a certain time of year, or when should I be feeding and fertilising them?
It's a good question.
It is.
Again,
which deserves a long answer, and I'm not sure that we have the time, but can I point out first of all that you really need to separate your fruit trees into two groups, evergreens and deciduous, okay? Because the behaviour of those two plants is different and the way that you look after them is different, but the fertiliser that you apply is the same, right? You don't need to buy special fertilisers for special plants. It's simple. A general purpose fertiliser, and critically in WA with trace elements. Very, very important indeed.
Yes.
Make sure it's got all the trace elements.
And the other thing I'd add too is that just because you think you're applying the fertiliser to the base of the tree, that's probably not where its roots are. So you might be fertilising the plant that's 4 metres away in reality, because they all intersperse all the time. So it's a bit hit and miss at times.
Yeah, sorry, I'll just follow that up a bit more. So when do you fertilise? Well, when the plants are actively growing. And that's why we split the plants into two groups, because the evergreens tend to grow almost year round. And of course, the deciduous are dormant at this time. So chucking fertiliser on is wasting your money and probably harming the tree as well. So wait until the spring flush. And you can just use the same fertiliser all the way through. By the way, you must have a big profit in Carrinup if you've got, how many fruit trees? 35, was it?
Yeah, we've got about 35. It's a little bit more intensive than maybe it should be, but I can't help myself.
I'm deeply impressed. Have you got room for a house, or do you just have a tent in the middle of this?
No, we've got 880 square metre block, and I've even found a little spot for my aquaponic setup, which has been up for a month. So
fantastic.
Oh, I'm very impressed. I think we should come out and have a look someday.
Oh, you're most welcome to come out.
Oh, there we go.
I tell you what, Carmelo, you did really well, because this is a man that wasn't going to get his question not answered. Yeah. Because Carmelo also emailed us as well, so he's hedging his bets here.
And you can do both. Email, phone, we don't mind. Yep. By the way, if you do phone in, just a reminder, you have to turn the sound on your television down, because there is a slight delay which will probably throw you if you're not used to these sorts of things. Are we back to the emails or the phones?
We have one more caller.
Hello, one more caller. Welcome to the program.
I shouldn't say that, I'm sorry.
Who are we talking
to?
Hello.
Hello, how are you going?
Good. Who's this?
It's Nigel.
Yes, Nigel.
Yeah, Uncle Nigel.
Uncle Nigel.
Yeah, it's Uncle Nigel.
Uncle Nigel. Yes, Uncle Nigel.
How are you going?
Yeah, good, thank you.
I just read in West Weekend in the gardening section at the back, and the lady was talking about a dead horse lily that she had.
Oh, yes.
And I just didn't know where it was available from, because I'd never seen it or heard of it.
Oh, I'm
and
not...
it seems quite rare or not?
No. An old plant. I'm struggling to remember the name of it. I've got a mental block about it.
Yeah, no, I've got it here, but I don't have my thoughts on it.
Well, just give me the first letter or two and I'll show you a picture of it. It'll come to me in a moment.
What's that?
I know what it is. I've just remembered. Okay.
And
It takes me a little while to get there, but here we are. So that's a picture of it. This is the dead horse lily, Dracunculus vulgaris.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A couple of things about it. It's got the most unusual leaves of all, which you can't really see from that, but the leaves actually curl right around. It's quite an amazing leaf shape. And then you have this fairly typical flower with a bronze velvety thing, and this spathe coming up through the middle, which smells like guess what? I mean, they call it the dead horse lily, so guess what it smells like?
Yeah, it's like the corpse flower. It's in that family, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes, because it appeals to blowflies and things that break down rotting flesh and meat. I believe some years ago, Garry, down near Albany, that plant was responsible for a manhunt. They thought there was a body somewhere. Yeah.
You often get these smells.
And when people grow it in the garden, what they do is, if you don't like the smell, and who does apart from blowflies, they cut that centre part out because that's where the smell is emitting from. Now, you asked where you can get it. You would have to go to a specialist supplier for this, maybe some of the bulb people. If you find somebody who's got one, they're actually quite easy to divide. Or you may be able to get it in through mail order, but I don't think it's mainstream, Uncle Nigel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, but my father's got a few other succulents that come out in the same sort of flower.
Yes.
And not like that, but there's a purple one and they're a velvety sort of thing, but they attract the blowflies too.
Oh, there are quite a lot of plants in that group. Yeah, they're actually members of the lily family. There are quite a lot of plants in that group. And that one is a particularly good-looking one, but look, don't smell.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, thanks for raising that. It's an interesting plant.
Yeah, nice one.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Nigel.
Okay, thank you. I wish Uncle Nigel had stopped ringing. Oh, never mind. This is Beyond Gardens Live, and you're welcome to join us. We don't have that long left, but you get in quick on the phone or on emails, and we can do that. And we have some more emails sitting there, John, or we have a call?
We do. We have another caller first, however. There's, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, the callers they're in the queue, so it's time to go to the next caller.
We love talking to callers.
Yes,
hello, welcome
absolutely.
to Beyond Gardens Live.
Good evening. My name is Len, and I'm live in Willerton.
Yes, Len.
I've torn out all my lawn and replacing it with natives, looking for ground covers. I'm considering putting in Grevillea Gingin Gems.
Yes.
And I've been told that apparently you can mow them on a very high setting.
Yes.
And I'm getting conflicting reports.
You certainly can mow them. In another part of my life, I was managing a nursery, and the cutting material that we use for Grevillea Gingin Gem, we actually used to mow and collect it up, and we'd just basically pick through the cuttings. And yes, you can. A very high setting, however, on a rotary mower, not a real mower. Just trying to think. Probably at least, I know. I know George Lolfitz has got some photos of mowing a Gingin Gem
Yeah, he's
lawn.
got them in his book.
Yes,
in that excellent book.
In
that
his
produced,
book.
Yes.
From memory, I think the last time I mowed a Gingin Gem ground cover, it was about 75 mil. So very high, almost the highest setting that you can get on a rotary mower these days.
And do it from an early age.
Yes, oh yes, yep.
Taken me a little while to get there, but this is actually Gingin Gem being used in perhaps the same way that you described. So this is a street verge where it's low, and they haven't been mowing it. You can see you probably don't need to mow it unless you've got you want a really formal appearance, because it stays fairly low anyway and looks fairly good. And this is the same thing a little bit closer up, perhaps, except it's not going there. Oh, yes, there it is.
Yep.
This is, again, the same plant, sweeping down a bank.
Very tight.
So, it's got lots of applications, and it's easy to use like that. Yeah. And the best part about it is super tough.
Oh, bulletproof.
Super tough.
It's probably one of the go-to ground covers for Perth.
And if you had to write a list of plants that would grow across a wide range of conditions, this would be one of them.
So this one's growing at my place right on the beach on 9.8 pH. So it really gets around.
And will also grow in heavy clay.
I was going to say the last one I mowed was up in the hills in Stoneville. So there you go. It's
and you're going to really love this summer, not having to go out and water
and mow your lawn,
because you don't have to mow it as often, of course.
Yeah.
When I plant the garden out, what spacings do you recommend per plant?
That depends on how quickly you want coverage. These will easily cover 2 metres. Easily cover 2 metres or more. Yes. But I mean, we do verges for Beyond Gardens, and we'll touch on that in a little bit later. The ground covers I space out at 2 metres and maybe throw in some you know, a kangaroo paw or something
at
like
2
that.
metres? How long before you get coverage?
Depending on if you do supplement their water through summer, easily within a year you'll have close to full coverage.
Yeah.
So, but remember, improve that soil, organic matter, the bentonite clays, and the good mulch.
Or better still, buy small plants to start with,
Yes.
put them a bit closer.
Yeah,
You don't lose anything in time, you just get a faster coverage.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you for your call. I hope that helps.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks, Sam.
We are really here to help.
Yeah.
Calls, emails, what, gentlemen?
No.
Oh, Gary's tapping his notes. That means we're in trouble. What are you trying to tell us, Gary?
I'm just telling we're running out of time.
Yeah,
very
we've
quickly.
got
we're
no
running
more
out of time.
We've got,
But it's okay. Still time for you to join us. You just squeeze in. Just. But we had more
oh yes,
emails
no,
to
we
be
can
on.
take one more call.
Okay.
And do we have a caller there?
And have we taken it?
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Who's this?
I've got a solution to the snail problem.
Another snail problem. Yes.
I can fix all your snails up.
Oh, you have an answer for our snail
An
problem.
answer for the snail
Ah,
problem.
here we go. Yes.
We're all ears.
Yeah, well, just a bucket with some water in it,
Yes.
with a good squirt of washing up liquid, and just walk around and pick all the snails up and drop them in the water, and that kills. And no
Fantastic.
chemicals,
certainly
poisons.
Certainly does.
Yep.
Yeah.
Salty water does the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, salty water does too, and vinegar in the water does the same.
The hard part, of course, is picking up the snails, isn't it?
Oh, it doesn't worry me.
And we've actually got an answer to that too. You just get a 12-year-old boy,
Yep.
and they love collecting snails.
And pay.
Yes.
Pocket
And
money.
pay them.
Or a pair
Pay
of
incentive.
or plastic gloves will do it too if you're squeamish.
There was the other thing you can do is get ducks. In all seriousness, ducks are perfect.
Yeah, ducks are good too.
Yeah, they
Ducks
just
are-
have one drawback, ducks, and that is that I can't say that word on television, but they defecate on your doorstep.
They're a
Okay.
bit messy.
Yes, they're a bit messy. Yes. A while ago, there were some ducks that you could rent. They were khaki
yes,
Campbells.
that's right.
You could rent them, and they'd come to your garden for a week and clean up the snails, and then move off somewhere else. I think it'd be. They were known at that time as, guess where they came from, the Campbells of Cottesloe. This was a while ago, but I wonder if there's not some enterprising person who would like to do that again. Campbells, because they were
I don't
khaki
know.
Campbell ducks.
Duck Campbells. Yeah, they're good ducks.
Entrepreneurial.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
duck rental. I mean,
Duck
why
rental,
not? You
yeah,
can rent
absolutely.
everything else. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We want a commission.
We want a commission.
Yes, all the snails you can eat, Gary. Yeah.
All the snails you can eat. Yep. Well, we have had a lot of calls in regards to nutrients and fertilisers, so I think we will quickly go to the one email in regards to fertilising.
Yeah.
It's basically from Lance from Claremont. He's got difficulty growing most veggies as big as the ones he buys in the supermarket. He once heard that to match the market gardeners, they should give the veggies an application of liquid fertiliser once a fortnight. Wow. Lance's question is, will applying liquid fertiliser help? And can he make his own by diluting, say, a teaspoon of NPK into a watering can rather than using the brands on the market?
Where do we start? Where do we start?
So close to.
Well, it's a matter of quantity more than anything else. Plants need nutrients, but if you put too much nutrient on, then the nutrients go to the environment, not into the plant, and it becomes a problem. So once a fortnight might be okay if you're using a very weak solution, but if you're using a strong solution, then once a fortnight is too much. But the other part, it comes onto your dissolving material.
Yes.
Nutrients in fertilisers don't become available until they are dissolved in water. The so-called liquid fertilisers, which are basically powders that you dissolve, are instantly soluble in water. And they're all water-soluble content. So whatever you put on from those is instantly available to the plant. By the way, also instantly available to go past the plant into the soil if you're not careful. Whereas the other type, the mineral fertiliser that you mentioned, has a high degree of much less soluble nutrient, and it takes time for that to be released. In essence then, I'm not sure whether it's a fair summary, but you can't really take a mineral fertiliser and dissolve it in water and expect to make a liquid fertiliser out of it.
Absolutely.
Two different stories.
Yes.
Two different stories. Can you use things once a fortnight? Yes, if you use a nice, weak, organic one. Yeah, there's no problem with. But most people, unfortunately, overfeed.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And that certainly you see signs all over Perth in regards to overfeeding, you know, what's happening in the Swan and the Canning River, but probably a little bit more closer to home for us is Balladura and what's happening in their own waterways, Emu Lake and the like. And that's why we will be out at the Balladura Environment Day celebrations.
Oh, okay. So I better find this thing that says where we're going to be. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, well, that's a subtle.
Gary, what's happening?
Yeah, so what we're going to do at Balladura, and really for this season, it's about the last one, apart from those people out at Muckenbooden where we're going a couple of weeks' time. This is an environment day put on by the City of Swan, and we're out there to join in with all the festivities and talk about activities associated with the Emu Lake.
Okay, and that's most of the day?
That is most of the day. We'll be there doing a couple of seminars, but in between we'll be available for any questions.
Okay, so it's a free workshop, but we do require that you book into it.
This one,
Yeah, this is the Balladura one. So you have to go to that address on the bottom of your screen, www.beyondgardens.com.au. And just slightly different to our email.
And I guess it's probably linked in quite nicely with what we've been talking about as far as the nutrients and fertilisers, and also the last caller's question in regards to the Gingin Gems, because we've done a lot of work out in Balladura with City of Swan in promoting the use of verges and verge treatments, converting old lawns into a native garden, which is far more water and fertilise-wise.
And Balladura's got that limited catchment into Emu Lakes, isn't it?
Yes. Basically, Emu Lake can't go anywhere, so it's like a catchment of the Swan in micro.
Yes, yeah.
And the good news is that the preliminary results are showing that the verges are actually reducing the amount of nutrients leaving and going down the drain. So,
absolutely.
So don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. Now, the other event that we put up there, perhaps we'll tell you about it and then we'll tell you that you can't go anyway. It's awful. Because our bush food projects do tend to get booked out very early indeed, and that's because there's such a massive interest in it. And a reminder that Steve McCabe will be sitting on my left and your right at this time next week. Steve McCabe is the person who does all our bush food materials. We've reached the end of the garden path for this week, which is sad. If you weren't able to get through, then don't forget during the week you can send emails to that same email address we've been repeating almost ad nauseum today, tv@beyondgardens.com.au.
And 4 more to go before we have a break.
Only 4 more programs to go. Geez, just like that in this short series of programs. We'd like again to thank our sponsors, the Water Corporation, the City of Swan, the City of Stirling and the City of Mandurah. They've all made it possible, and we'd like to thank you for joining us. See you next week.